In this movie, I'll show you how to use Illustrator's Live Paint feature in order to create interlocking objects. Specifically, I want to weave this orange circle into the green knot in order to eventually create this effect here. So you can see that the orange circle comes in front of the knot, then behind it, then in front, then behind it, and so forth. So the first thing I want you to do if you're working along with me, just to make sure you're absolutely protected and you can always come back to these primitive paths if necessary, go ahead and select the primitives layer inside the Layers panel. Then bring up the flyout menu and choose Duplicate Primitives. Now turn off the original primitives layer. That's very important because otherwise you run the risk of wiping out those objects. And then double-click on an empty portion of the primitives copy layer to bring up the Layer Options dialog box. I'll call this one Live Paint number 1. And the reason I'm calling it that is that we're going to be taking 2 swings at this Celtic knot, which is essential to understanding exactly what's going on, because I really want you to have a sense for how these things work when you go to create your own similar projects. Now I'll change the color from light blue to light red, and I'll go ahead and click OK. Now at this point, we no longer need the guides, so go ahead and press Control semicolon or Command semicolon on the Mac to hide them. Now we need to convert our strokes to filled path outlines. That means we need to select these 2 paths by Alt-clicking or Option-clicking on the Live Paint number 1 layer there inside the Layers panel. Then go up to the Object menu, choose Path, and choose Outline Stroke. And you will now end up with 2 compound paths, which you can see if you twirl open the Live Paint number 1 layer. And what were formerly strokes are now fills, and the paths no longer have strokes. Let's go ahead and reinstate some strokes here by clicking on a second swatch in the Control panel and changing it to Rich Black, which I've created in advance. And I came up with a line weight value of 3.6 points. Just an aesthetic choice on my part. All right, now let's convert these paths to a live shape object by dropping down to what is presumably the Live Paint selection tool if you've been working along with me, and then select the Live Paint bucket from the flyout menu, or you can just press the K key. And make sure that you have one of these top swatches selected for the fill. I'll just go ahead and select Rich Black. That will not change the fill of the shapes, however, because I'm working with the Live Paint bucket. Now press the right arrow key a couple of times in order to advance to orange and click inside this region to fill it. Then you want to skip this intersection down to the next one and click on it in order to fill it with orange as well. Skip the next one, working in a clockwise fashion here, and then when you come to the one at about 9 o'clock, go ahead and click on it to fill it with orange as well. All right, now we're ready to work on the strokes. Assuming that you've set up your paint bucket so you can fill strokes without having to press the Shift key, and if you want to confirm that, just go ahead and double-click on the tool icon here inside the toolbox, and you can see that Paint Strokes is turned on for me. I'll go ahead and click OK, and then I'll hover over this substroke right there. Make sure that the black swatch is active. That should be the Rich Black. And then click on it in order to add a stroke. Your line weight should still be set to 3.6 points, by the way. Then click on this one down here in order to stroke it. Then move on to this path intersection down around 5 o'clock or so. Click on this substroke and then click on this substroke. And by the way, the hot spots on the cursor are the little arrowhead when you're filling a path intersection, and it's the tip of the brush when you're applying a substroke. All right, now I need to make some of those substrokes transparent, and just for the sake of variety, I'm going to do that using the Live Path Selection tool. So you can either select it from the flyout menu or press the keyboard shortcut Shift-L. And you want to select all the substrokes that are located between the areas of orange. So this guy right there, then Shift-click on this one, drop down to this location, Shift-click there, and then finally Shift-click here and here. And as opposed to deleting those substrokes, which will make an absolute mess of things, you want to change the stroke to none, which you can do from the swatches panel. Then press Control-Shift-A or Command-Shift-A on a Mac in order to deselect the paths. And now I'm going to go ahead and select what appears to be the orange circle. It's actually 2 circles, one set inside the other, by pressing the A key to switch to the wide arrow tool, and then I'll press the Alt key or the Option key on the Mac. As I partially marquee those 2 circles, take care not to select any of the green knot. And now you can see that you can move this guy around within reason. You can't go too crazy because then you'll kind of mess things up, as you can see here. But you can move the circle around and you will maintain the appearance, at least, of an interlocking circle. Anyway, I'll go ahead and press Control Z or Command Z on the Mac in order to undo that move, and then I'll click off the shapes to deselect them. That works beautifully for the orange circle, but what about the green knot? What I eventually want to do is make the green knot weave into itself. And I can't do that the way I have things set up right now because there are no overlapping areas at these intersections here. This is all part of one larger, as you may recall, compound path. So what do? Well, we have to create a special kind of filled path outline that overlaps itself a total of 3 times. And I'll show you how that works in the next movie.